Kayfiyya. The fifth is the fifth point related to the intention is the way that it is made. The way that it is made, that differs with the differing acts. So we mentioned that for each action there will be integrals that we have to learn. Typically one of those integrals will be the intention, which means for each work we need to learn how to intend that work. And we'll give you one or two simple intentions for each work. Note those down. So you have an intention you make for wudu, an intention you make for ghusl, an intention you make for prayer, and so forth. So it differs with the different work. The next point related to the intention, which will be the sixth point, is its conditions. Its conditions. So you're going to make some sub-points beneath this sixth point. Its conditions. A. Islam. An intention in worship is not sound from an unbeliever. Do we have to tell them not to worship? No. You don't have to. Someone wants to not eat during the day in Ramadan. There's no reason to force them to eat in the day in Ramadan. Is it a fasting as we describe fasting that's for Allah with the intention and so forth? No. But if they don't want to eat, they don't have to. So Islam. The second is discernment, tamyiz. So intention is not valid from an act of worship requiring an intention is not valid from someone who's insane. Can't follow them in prayer, even if they know the movements. And also from a child who is not discerning. Discernment in a child is defined as them being able to eat, drink, and do istinja by themselves. And they see kids, little tiny kids can eat and drink, but istinja, they have to do it properly by themselves, and kids aren't able to do that easily till they mature some. So Islam, discernment, knowledge of how to do the work that is being intended. An intention is not valid from someone who doesn't know what they're doing. So if someone just, funeral prayer for instance, you always find imams will explain the funeral prayer prior to praying it. If someone just says, oh, what are they doing? I don't know. I'll stand there and do it with them. And says for Allahu Akbar, but the Shafi'is, that's not valid because they didn't know what they were intending. So you have to know what you are in, know the work, know knowledge of how to do the work. So that's A, B, C. The intention has to be, D is A, B, C, D. D is the intention has to be decisive. In Arabic, this is tahaqqaq al-muqtada, al-muqtadi, decisive. Tahaqqaq al-muqtadi, decisive. What that means is, I don't know if I have wudu or not. Well, I guess I'll make it. If you remember that you in fact didn't, that wudu doesn't count because you didn't make a decisive intention. You were wavering. So what do you do in that circumstance? You break your wudu and remake it. Yeah, physically break it. Touch your wife's hand. Make it again. Anyway, but yeah, a wavering intention doesn't count.
So we said Islam and Tamyiz.
Yep.
And then what's the fourth one was?
The third one was knowledge of how to perform the work that you're intending. Al-ilmu bi-kayfiyyat al-manwi.
And then tahaqquq.
Yeah, and then the fourth is tahaqquq al-muqtadi. And the fifth is al-qudra ala al-manwi. Or the fifth, E. Al-qudra al-manwi. The fifth is being able to in fact do what you are intending, which is close to the last one. And the sixth is عدم الاتيان بما ينافيها. The sixth is, so that's A, B, C, D, E, F. F. A, B, C, D, E, F. Yeah, F. F is not doing something which nullifies the intention. Not doing something which nullifies the intention. So, for instance, if someone begins washing their face intending wudu while urinating, obviously you can't make wudu while breaking it, so you can't do something that nullifies it. For those that want additional detail, من ردة ونية قطع والتقليد والتعليق والتردد. So wavering about saying, I'll intend this, but if the phone rings, I'll stop. That nullifies the intention, because it's not a resolved intention. So those are 6 conditions of the intention. That's similar to not doing something that nullifies it. Is like someone who's backbiting. Oh, so and so, they're just so scandalous. Astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayh. So they're sitting there backbiting the person and saying astaghfirullah while they do it. Oh God, look at that, astaghfirullah, and they're looking right at it. That's not a resolute intention. That's untruth. That's lying. So similar, it's like someone in saying they intend wudu while they're urinating. You're doing 2 things that are totally in contradiction of one another. So those are conditions, rulings of and conditions of intention, and that was the sixth point related to the intention, and the 7th is the objective of the intention. The objective of the intention. So what is the objective of the intention? The objective of the intention is distinguishing between mundane activities and worship. Distinguishing, and that's number 7 again, distinguishing between mundane activities and worship, and also distinguishing between the levels of acts of worship. So an example distinguishing between a mundane activity and worship, if I sit in a mosque, I'm just sitting. And actually this is a musalla because it's rented, but were it an endowment as a mosque, if I were sitting there with the intention of i'tikaf, then it would be an i'tikaf. But if I was just sitting in order to rest or visit someone or so forth, then that would be sitting for another reason. And you differentiate between this being an act of worship and that being some other reason by merely the intention. So that's one of the objective, the aim of the intention. And also differentiating between the various types of worship. So a prayer that is an obligatory prayer as opposed to a prayer that is a sunnah prayer, the only difference may be the intention. So for instance, Fajr is 2 rakas and the sunnah Fajr is 2 rakas. The primary difference is in the intention. Otherwise, all of the integrals are the same. Some sunnahs differ, but it would be valid from the point of view of the integrals being there if you just intended the obligatory Fajr, even if you did it in an appearance that look just like the sunnah of Fajr. So you differentiate between the various types of worship or between worship and mundane activities by an intention. And similarly, even our everyday activities, such as sleeping, can be turned into devotional works through our intention. So if someone sleeps intending, strengthening themselves to worship Allah, that's a devotional work. And then they can also make numerous intentions in their mundane actions. So for instance, eating with the intention of strengthening oneself to worship Allah, then that's a work. That's an act of obedience. Intending to follow the Sunnah, the Prophet ﷺ ate. Intending to do the Sunnah invocations. Intending to maintain your health. Intending to follow the etiquettes of eating. So this person eats with no intention, and that's just one mundane action, it's one everyday action. that they're not rewarded for, and hopefully as long as none of it's haram and they don't overeat, they're not punished for. However, if someone intends it as an act of worship, they turn it into a devotional work, and then if they intend following the etiquette, that's an additional work that they can also do. They intend extracting from themselves an expression of gratitude, that's an additional intention. They intend maintaining their health, and that's a different. They might make 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 intentions just in one work of eating, for instance. So that's part of the benefit of intention. And that's also a benefit of learning to intend and to deliberately intend and even state your intentions, is that you get in the habit of making your heart kind of go in the direction that you want it to, rather than just setting it free and letting it wander haphazardly. La ilaha illallah. So that is the intention of wudu. Faslun furudul wudu sitta to asya and niyya. Okay, so and then this author said the intention while washing the face. So that is the beginning of wudu, is washing the face, actually. Meaning that is the beginning of the integrals, which are the obligatory elements, the essential elements, and the objectives in wudu, is to perform the integrals. So at the beginning of that which is really the core of wudu, that is its beginning, and that's when one intends this obligatory intention, and that occurs again at the beginning of the obligatory elements, which is while washing the first portion of the face. So if someone were making wudu and they were going to wash their face 3 times, and they washed once without an intention, and then they remembered and made their intention while washing the second time, then actually that was the first. So one washes one intends while washing the first portion of the face, and next week we'll cover thoroughly the sunnahs of wudu, and we'll show how that is done. So intention, when it's time, remember we said, is typically at the beginning of acts, and wudu is no exception. The place where it is in the case of wudu is when washing the face, and that is while performing the first integral, or the first of the active integrals. So the second of the 6 integrals of wudu, or the 6 obligations of wudu, is washing the face. Okay, there's a couple of things here. La ilaha illallah. Washing is defined as water running over a thing. Washing means water running over a thing. That differs from wiping, which will be defined in a moment. So in order to wash one's face, one has to scoop water in their hands, his or her hands, and pour water down the face. Or, for instance, in a shower, allow water to pour down their face. But if one were to dip one's hands in water and wipe one's face with wet hands, that is not considered washing. Washing means water running over something. What is washing the face? Okay, then what is the face? The face, its borders are from a typical hairline to just beneath the chin and the jawbones in length, and from ear to ear. And the ear begins with this little triangular shaped piece of cartilage, which in Arabic is called al-watid. And when I used to vend, a piercer taught me the English name, but it escapes me now. If someone who knows piercing sites and wants to tell me what this is called, I'd appreciate it. In any case, these little things are the sides in terms of width and in terms of length, a typical hairline to beneath the jawbone. So by us saying a typical hairline, we mean someone with a receding hairline. They only have to wash where hair typically starts. And someone with what the Arabs call ghamam, which is a very low hairline, so that it comes below a typical hairline onto their forehead. They have to wash above that low hairline, and someone with a receding hairline only has to wash to where a normal hairline, a typical hairline was. And between ear to ear and beneath the jawbone, one has to wash all of that obligatory area and slightly beyond. Slightly beyond, because without going slightly beyond, you haven't washed everything that is within the boundaries. So you have to go just over that boundary. So A. Islam. An intention in worship is not sound from an unbeliever. Do we have to tell them not to worship? No. You don't have to. Someone wants to not eat during the day in Ramadan. There's no reason to force them to eat in the day in Ramadan. Is it a fasting as we describe fasting that's for Allah with the intention and so forth? No. But if they don't want to eat, they don't have to. So Islam. Kayfiyya. The fifth is the fifth point related to the intention is the way that it is made. The way that it is made, that differs with the differing acts. So we mentioned that for each action there will be integrals that we have to learn. Typically one of those integrals will be the intention, which means for each work we need to learn how to intend that work. And we'll give you one or two simple intentions for each work. Note those down, so you have an intention you make for wudu, an intention you make for ghusl, an intention you make for prayer, and so forth. So it differs with the different work. The next point related to the intention, which will be the sixth point, is its conditions. Its conditions. So you're going to make some sub-points beneath this sixth point. Its conditions. Kids can eat and drink, but istinja, they have to do it properly by themselves, and kids aren't able to do that easily till they mature some. So Islam, discernment, knowledge of how to do the work that is being intended. An intention is not valid from someone who doesn't know what they're doing. So if someone just, funeral prayer for instance, we always find imams will explain the funeral prayer. The second is discernment, tamyiz. So intention is not valid from an act of worship requiring an intention is not valid from someone who's insane. You can't follow them in prayer, even if they know the movements. And also from a child who is not discerning. Discernment in a child is defined as them being able to eat, drink, and do istinja by themselves. And they see kids, little tiny